do or love to do or passion to do. So without further ado, Gerald Moore, thank you for coming back on Bridges Live. I really want to have you back on and keep you having back on because we need to get a couple of things funded. Let's just get it flat and simple. But even if people haven't heard it before on Mission Fulfilled 2030, let's go over that and let's get people up to date about what that is.
First and foremost, Dr. Dyer, I appreciate you having me on your platform and get a chance to talk about just awesome stuff and what's going on in our world. But first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to those servicemen, past, present, and future. A lot of people don't understand that the civil liberties that we partake in to date, wouldn't exist without those people. So a special shout out to them. They don't get enough praise, and we definitely have to serve. Mission Fulfilled 2030. Opportunity to serve, Doc.
Right.
Mission Fulfilled 2030 is a nonprofit organization whose vision is to impact 100,000 black boys in the field of technology and STEM. And how we do this is we create opportunities for our boys to participate that are led by black men.
Now, I don't want to appear ignorant, but I'm going to allow people to not know what STEM is. I am going to say, and I know people are going, thanks, Dr. Paul, for answering that, because I don't know what STEM is. STEM of a flower, STEM of a plant. What the hell are you talking about? What is STEM? So let's talk about...
When we talk about STEM, we're talking about science, technology, engineering, and math.
Right.
And our science, technology, engineering, and math. So we're talking about our doctors are actually STEM professionals. Our scientists are STEM professionals. Our engineers, of course, we know what they are. Our mathematicians are a part of STEM. Our people who participate in technology, whether it's information technology, cybersecurity, which I'm a cybersecurity engineer. All of these different technical disciplines make up our STEM professionals, which black males make up less than 5% of our high-tech and STEM professionals. And that's why we exist for Mission Fulfilled 2030 to impact that number and increase that number by going back and raising up black boys in these fields.
Now, I always feel like we have to defend ourselves about the things we say when it comes to black boys, black men, black community, and almost say, really? You're that low on the scale? Come on. I mean, it's not like you guys it's not like you black people just came out of the Stone Age. So what is the problem with you guys getting into technology? So answer that question, because you're in it. Yeah, so answer that.
So the systems that are in place that keep us out of it, first of all. So if we look at what's the process of becoming an engineer, I have a degree in electronics engineering technology from Norfolk State University. So what's the process of becoming an engineer? First of all, you'll probably need to be a top math student. So it is stated.
Okay.
You'll probably need to be a top math and science, right? Once you get to high school, you'll probably need to take pre-calculus at some point, AP physics, AP chemistry, and all of these really tough classes. So you've already put it in the this is hard category, right? So once it's in the this is hard category, many of us are going to shy away from it. Secondly, we don't have any engineers or computer scientists in our public schools. We don't have any.
We don't even have, a lot of public schools don't even have a program.
Don't even have a technology program. So we're not getting the interest there. Then, black males make up 1% of the public school workforce, right? So we don't see any engineers, and I'm complicit in this, right?
Yeah.
So as an engineer working for my company, I'm invisible. Nobody sees me. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows I exist. So we know that representation matters. So where there is no representation,
there's nothing.
There's not a lot of young boys out there like, I want to be like Coach Moore.
Right.
So I took myself as an engineer, and pretty much how the program is built, I took me as an engineer and showcased myself as an engineer, as a coach in basketball. So coaching players in basketball, I was like, okay, I'm a basketball coach here, but I'm an engineer. So after practice, we're going to work on app development and creating you guys into engineers. So I think those systems that are put in place, no representation, no teachers, no real curriculum, and then placing it in a perspective where I couldn't possibly do that, it's too hard.
So now, so you have these avenues and these tight spaces where black children is very difficult to slide into unless someone recognizes them.
Right.
And it is very difficult to be recognized for good works as a black child in school. Now, I know some amazing teachers, and I know some amazing white teachers, whatever. But collectively, black children don't get recognized unless they're doing something wrong. It's just what it is.
Absolutely. We get suspended more than any other race.
Yep.
Right? At the earlier ages. I think, don't quote me on this, but in kindergarten, black boys get suspended twice as much as anybody else. Like, the number is extremely high. Even though we only make up a small percentage of the students, we get suspended at a much higher rate than anyone else. So I think that starts early, and then it continues, on. And I think, young, I'll bring up, there's a book by Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. Again, The Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys.
And I read that book.
Right, and his third grade theory is right on point.
Right on point.
Because black boys up until third grade test as high as any other race. We test as high as any other race intellectually until third grade. When we begin to really understand what's going on, and we get treated differently from that point on, and I think we instinctively pick up that we're being treated unfairly, and then we act that out.
Now, I talk about that all the time to teachers, and I've mentioned this on several of my shows. It is about the energy you're putting out, not that you would like to put out. And that goes with all children. When we say children are autistic, and children are on the spectrum, and children are difficult, and children got ADD, ODD, and whatever, anything you want to put to those labels, what we're doing is not seeing them. Right. Once you put a label on someone, and I don't care who this is, what it is, where it is, or why. Once you put a label on something, you stop seeing them.
Absolutely. And for most people, and this is people in general.
Yes.
They will feed you back the energy you give them.
Yeah.
So if you're giving them negative energy, it takes a really phenomenal person to take negative energy and still give you positive. Our teachers, I think, so this is what we have wrong. Like, if you're a doctor, being a doctor is kind of almost a gift. Like, it's your work, right? Being a teacher is one of those things that if it's not your gift, you should probably do something else, right? Because you're impacting so many people.
Much.
And if like, being a teacher can't just be your job because of the power and influence you have. And of course, I believe teachers should get paid more. I believe teachers should be on the high end of the scale because of the impact that you have on the future.
I agree. Like, it's without question. I agree, right? But this is what bothers me. The reason why they're not has to be purposeful. It cannot be we don't have enough money. It cannot be we never thought of it. We can there's not an excuse, reason, or anything you can come up with in your head is why a teacher is not paid on a high level of anything, any professional out there. And the only reason
they don't actually want them to perform at a high level, right? So if you think back in history, why were schools created, right? To create employees.
Yes, that was it.
Right. So I think we're still in that mold where our teachers are generating employees, and the value of that is not very high. Whereas, in the college and as a professor,
mm-hmm.
The salaries are much higher, right? The salaries are much higher because now we're working on a different person. We're working on management. We're
yes.
not working on those low-end workers. So
right.
I think, our systems are in place where, we're working for the low-end worker, the middle-class worker, and then the college worker, right? And then the PhD worker, right? So with that scale, so whoever's teaching the highest level, they have more value. But I would think molding the minds of these young people has a much higher value.
Well, think about this. If I don't know the product you're getting in college has to start from the product from the beginning. Now, I don't know a professor in the world that says, man, if it wasn't for me, you would be worthless. I've never heard a professor say that. Now, I've heard high school teachers say that, and I have, you've been a coach. You taught football. And I'll mention his name, Mark Katz. And people who hear the show, Tigers Forever, Spring Valley Tigers, Mark Katz was my football coach and in high school. And I, to this day, just recently sent him a message, and I'll do this on air, of how if it wasn't for him caring and loving the way he did us as a collective group of individuals, black, white, Puerto Rican, Jewish, all of it. He loved us so much. He used to bring us over to his house, feed us, talk to us, laugh with us. And this man gave me so much of this is what human being is like. More than most of my teachers I've ever met through all. There's been some good ones, trust me. I'm not going to say all my teachers were bad, but my coach, Mark Katz, was amazing. And I just wanted to say thank you because you did the same thing for some of your boys you coached.
And I think, and the reason I've done that is because of the coaches that I've had. I wrote about it in my book, Motivate Black Boys. If it weren't for my coaches, I wouldn't be the man who I was today.
Wow, yeah.
Like, and even like the men in my life, like my father, even my father and my uncles, they're all flawed men. Like, they're very flawed men. Like, a high percentage of my uncles struggled with alcoholism and drug abuse. But I learned so much from them, even in their flaws. Now, it has taken, people say, well, Gerald, you just different, man. I don't know how you don't drink and all of that stuff. But I learned this from watching these men almost throw their lives away, and some of them have thrown their lives away, but I learned from them. But my coaches poured into us so much about discipline, about, the man beside you is your brother.
Right.
We win as a team.
Right.
We win as a collective, and it's all of us. And those seeds they planted. That's kind of what I live by today. Like, if anybody who knows me, they'll tell you Gerald's a team person. Gerald's a team person. I'm gonna sacrifice of myself to lift somebody else up because I'm confident I can do what I can do. But I'm gonna lift somebody else up to give them the opportunity before I take all the opportunity and the accolades for myself. And I learned that from my coaches. I've had some good teachers along the way. I've had some teachers. I graduated high school with a D average. I had a 1.69 GPA. And when I went back into education, I actually pulled my record so I could show my students that, I'm just like y'all. Like, listen, like I'm not in the suburbs with a silver spoon. Like, I was just like y'all, and I made the decision to make this transition for myself. So you guys can do it. But I've had some good teachers who said to me, Gerald, stop playing with your education. Because I could go in at any moment and get an A on anybody's test after not doing any homework, after skipping class, and I could go in and get an A on their homework. One of my teachers asked me one day, he was like, Gerald, you've missed all the assignments, and you did none of the homework, but yet you scored the highest on this chapter test. So I didn't see you cheat, but I want to say you cheated. I remember telling my social studies teacher this, and he hated me. I said, that's what you get from the smartest person in the class.
Let me ask you a question, and I want to impact this before we get to it. And I want to thank all the listeners and sponsors and people who support Bridges Live and support Gerald Moore, who support Dr. Paul, but more importantly, support service to community, service to life, service to humanity. And if anything you get from Veterans Day or any day, and today I'm kind of sad. I have to admit that on air that I've been very somber today because Veterans Day bothers me. Mother's Day bothers me. Father's Day bothers me. All these significant days bother me because why do we have to have something that highlights something we should just be doing when we feel like doing it in a passionate way? No one should have to remind you to see, hey, love your wife today because it's Valentine's Day. It just drives me literally insane to say, you know what, I'm going to think of veteran today. Really? Today? Really? What about, no? Okay, whatever. And so it kind of bothers me, but I want to impact something you said about when your friends would say, Gerald, you're just on a different level. You're just a different cat. That's a problem for us as humans, and especially as black men. We have a problem with that saying being okay, because it's not okay.
Right.
How do we fix it? What are you thinking?
Well, self-discipline.
Okay.
Right? Most of us lack self-discipline.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, most of us lack self-discipline, and people will tell me, well, Gerald, you're a pretty disciplined person, but to me, I lack self-discipline because I don't accomplish everything that I'm trying to accomplish because I might want to go watch some TV with my wife. I may want to go work and do something with the kids that impacts something I really want to do. So I actually get on me by, Gerald, you need to be more disciplined and get that done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But most of us don't have any self-discipline to achieve even the most basic things we want to achieve because we won't do the work, right? And I think, for men, and you know these men.
Yeah.
We go to work, right? And then on the weekend, we think we deserve off, right? We think the weekend is vacation.
Like, I'm done.
Right? The weekend is vacation. I'm just going to watch college football on Saturday. I'm going to watch the NFL on Sunday. And that's it. But that's the time when your work begins.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the time when you lock in on who you are and what you want to do. Or I'm one of those dudes, I'm up at 5 a.m. every day. Right? I want to be fit. So I'm at the gym. Gerald, how do you stay fit? I get up and go to the gym.
Right. Right.
Gerald, how do you do that? I get up and do it. Well, how do discipline, self-discipline, discipline yourself, and it starts one day at a time, right? I wasn't always there. Okay?
And I think that's why we talk about mentoring young boys and reaching back and giving back because I think and I believe we are not just teaching. We think they should just pick it up. Well, if I can do it, you can do it. No, that's not the case. We need someone to teach them how to, and that's what you're doing with Mission Fulfilled. You're created this initiative to go and teach these kids to do. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so with Mission Fulfilled, like our goal is, and based on my background, we're going to get kids from disadvantaged situations. Mm-hmm. We're not just looking to get those kids from two-parent homes who are going to do well anyway. we're going to get those kids who have been thrown away or cast away or don't have opportunity, and we'll handhold them if we have to. And primarily, like we tend to target these single moms from disadvantaged situations, because it's their sons that, if we don't get a hold of them, are going to be on a path from the school to prison pipeline, and to be affiliated with gangs, and to do all of these negative things, when a lot of these kids are brilliant. Like, we have some, if you went to the prison right now, we could snatch out a bunch of brilliant.
I was just going to mention that. I said, we got people coming out of prison who, doesn't matter what happened before they got there, when they got there, but when they come out, is mission fulfilled going to be able to impact them and pull them in? Because now they're not children. They're 22, 25, 35, 45. We can still pull them into the initiative, right?
Absolutely. So what I'm trying to do right now is mission fulfilled, as set up today, is set up to impact boys K through 12.
Okay.
But what I'm also doing is, because of what you just stated, right? The traditionally, America doesn't create opportunities for ex-felons.
No.
Right? They don't create opportunities for them to roll into anybody's major corporation. So we have 3 levels of what we're doing with Mission Fulfilled right now. We have our kids from K through 12.
Okay.
We have our mentors, which are college level age kids through professionals. And then we have the companies who we're bringing together to help us make this impact. What I'm doing as an extension of that, I'm reaching out to all of these organizations that actually try to create programming and rehabilitation for people coming out of prison, so we can create that content, create mentors for them too, and create opportunities for them to work in these tech fields for the future. So by having our mentor pool that are professionals, we'll also be creating companies down the road that we can roll these brothers into. So Mission Fulfilled 2030, and 2030 is the operative word, right? In 2030, there's a vision of something that we'll get to. Like, this is funny. We look at the presidential election.
Yeah.
Black people are ecstatic that Joe Biden will be our new president. What's going to happen for me in Mission Fulfilled tomorrow? I got to get up and work.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing. We still have to do the work.
Thank you. Hold on. Let me finish clapping. Because we got to stop waiting for this to come down and save us. And someone said this on one of my shows. We got to stop waiting for Black Superman to come down and help us. We can only do this if we do this. And doing this means putting in the work. It means getting up. It means asking for help also. It means I don't know what I need to do or can do because no one's ever helped me. God damn it. You know what? We're on social media. You and I are on social media. I'm on all these platforms, all this stuff. And if you happen to pass by someone that says, you know what, I think that black boy could probably need some help, let me inbox somebody and say, do you ask the question? Can you, would it be okay? Absolutely. The answer from me always will be absolutely. What's his name? What's her name?
Right. And I do that all the time. But I think that, in general, we as a people, we tend to think, there's this reparations conversation happening.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe yes.
Yeah.
We should get reparations, yes.
Okay.
But that has not happened.
No.
So we can't put a massive amount of effort into that when, even if that happens, there's this time frame where it will happen. So until that happens, you have to do the work. So Mission Fulfilled 2030. In 2030, we will have 100,000 young black males in our programs in some type of tech field. I know this because every day I get up and put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. So when I look at all these black men that I encounter and I think about, what's happening with these young brothers in prison, a good friend of mine, very smart brother, graduated high school with a 3.0 average. He's in prison right now. He's in prison and love him to death, but drugs was his path. He didn't see any other way.
Right.
He didn't see any other way. But the dude is brilliant.
So let's get down to how much. It's not so much because you can't put a value on life, and that's a corny metaphor, and I believe it, but people do put a value on this. How much do we need to raise to help a child finish this goal to get to that point you're talking about in Mission Fulfilled? How much per child?
So for Mission Fulfilled, if we were operating on a full budget, for Mission Fulfilled of $1 million, we could impact 10,000 boys a year, which would have us on target to have 100,000 by 2030. $1 million, which is nothing, right? Because if 10,000 people gave $100, that's $1 million.
That's $1 million.
We're going to impact 10,000 people.
Right.
If 100,000 people gave $10,
there it is.
Right, which is nothing. We can impact 10,000 boys.
Now, I want to put this question out there, and people, if you want to ask anything, please type it in the inbox, either on the YouTube channel, either on the Facebook channel, or even on the Twitter channel. I'm watching them all. I got a question for you. You can ask it, you can share it, you can like it, you can post it, but I want to see if people answer me this. Would you want 10,000 boys educated or 10,000 boys trying to stick you up?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I want you to answer with your checkbook because that's how you answer the question. Because if you just say, no, I want them educated, well then...
you have to seed.
Yeah.
You have to seed, right? Yeah. So again, when we think about, and I'm not, this is not what I do, but I believe they said the black people in the U.S. make up, as black people as a nation within the U.S. would still be in the top 10 GDP globally.
Yes.
So we're not poor.
No, because some of these clowns about ready to spend $320 million on Black Friday going out and buy a $5 damn toaster. So I don't even want to. The numbers are staggering about what black people will spend their money on this crap for them. Oh shoot!
But I think and even that's the that's the we're so, how can I put it? We're easily distracted.
Squirrel?
Right? We're easily distracted. Right? Yo, Mission Fulfilled is dope. He gonna raise up 10,000 black boys. Oh, it's a sale on red bottoms?
Yeah, Nike's on sale.
It's a sale on red bottoms? Yo, dog, I was gonna write you that check, dog, but yo, man, I had put 50 on the game.
And look, and I'm dripping.
Right, you know what I'm saying? I had to get the drip, son. So
it's sick. It's sick and sad. It's sick and sad.
But I think that what we're doing is I'm starting to get a lot of traction right now because I think people are seeing the work that we're doing. I think we're also a show me people, right?
Okay.
So
let me
magic with nothing. Then we can get support.
Then let me tell people about show me thing. You, young man, and most of you people, this man does not talk about himself. He does a lot of things so much behind the scenes that affects human lives. You just bought 50 Chrome notebooks for students and paid for Wi-Fi for 50 students so they can get educated out of your own pocket. Now, this is something that's a show me, but no one's ever going to see that because it's not like something you're going to post out there with walking into the school like, hey, you know. But
yeah. So what's interesting about that, Dr. Dyer? So the teacher who I initially told I was going to purchase Chromebooks for her children, she reached out to the news and said, hey, this guy's going to come all the way from Virginia to Baltimore to bring us Chromebooks. And I think, why can't we, sustain our own kids?
Right.
So we actually got some media on that. So from my initial gift, I was able to raise an additional $20,000 to service kids nationwide. But, and I'm grateful for that. And I think at a level like when you actually have a nonprofit organization, now that I'm running a nonprofit organization.
Right.
And we have this social media platform, it gives me an opportunity to actually tell my story. And I would traditionally do stuff in anonymity. But because people actually do need to see, I'm actually more visible now. I actually get out and showcase what we're doing so that other people can say, okay, hey, here's an opportunity for me to participate in something and actually be a hero and let me service it.
Right.
I kind of consider myself a vessel. Like, I'm just a vessel. I'm not doing anything.
Right.
It's the people who allow me to do things now through the nonprofit. So us trying to get 10,000 black boys in a STEM program a year, it's going to be the people, you, who funded to allow me to create these things. So it's not me doing anything. It's going to be us as a collective that are going to make Mission Fulfilled 2030 successful. I'm not, I put it together, but what Mission Fulfilled will be is this collective of 10,000 black boys a year. This collective of 1,000 professionals a year that we're going to get together and help mentor and tech coach these boys. It's going to be that 100 companies that we can get to seed us a year, which has nothing to do with me. I'm just the vessel. I'm just the pass-through, right? It's really the people. So I get out there and I try and get the people to understand that it's you who make this happen. It's you by seeding the vision. And again, I'm transparent. I think as black people too, we're so used to somebody running off with the money. I can't give him no money. He gonna run off. He gonna run off with the money.
Like Black Santa. He took all the toys.
Exactly. I can't see giving Mission Fulfilled $1 million a year because they gonna run off with the money. But actually, we need to pay for things, right? And I need to, in order to fully fulfill the mission, I need to pay people, right? I have great volunteers right now. Super volunteers. Y'all know who y'all are. Thank you. I have a great senior advisory board. Board members, y'all out there grinding every day, making connections. Love you. Thank you. But we need the people. We need the people to seed. And even to the point where if you have a young man in our program, and a lot of our programs are free, wouldn't hurt you to donate $5. We actually have people, and I love these people too, but if you're going to actually be a beneficiary of our program, you should actually seed it a little bit.
Right.
And I think sometimes as black people, we think everything should be subsidized, right? And I think we everything can't be subsidized.
I don't know how that matriculated into the fabric of communicative voices. Like, someone should help me pay for it. Someone should pay for it. I don't know, and it could come from policy. It could come from when the government starts subsidizing the welfare program and things like that. I don't know, and they thought it was helpful, but okay, it helps. It does help. It can help. It has helped many, but it has hurt a lot too.
Yes.
And yeah, but we use it so much. We're like, well, is someone gonna help? I have money. I earn the money, but can you get free lunch at school? Well, let me sign that up. You know, how do you think this gets paid for? You know, where do you think this money comes from? It doesn't get pulled out of the sky. Well, someone's paying some extra money for your kid to eat lunch at school because we feel as a collective community that kids should not go hungry in school.
Right.
But you can pay for your lunch. I don't care if it's peanut butter. See, when I was growing up, we didn't have subsidy programs. So I had peanut butter and jelly and a little thing of milk. That's all I had. So in my little lunchbox and the whole bit, so if that's all you have is crackers and peanut butter, that's all you ate. You know, and that's okay. It's okay, isn't it? I hope it is okay because
yeah, I think even with the election, right? We're happy because when they talk about what the Biden-Harris plan is, I think in the minds of a lot of black people, there's this big black subsidy coming. Right? There's this big black subsidy coming that's gonna drop on us, and we just all gonna be balling out.
Right, and it's not coming.
It's not coming.
It's not coming.
It's not coming. We got to get out there. We got to seed each other. We got to invest in each other. We have to support one another. We have to, do things that are going to help us grow as a people and stop giving our money away to other races.
So here's a thing, and we're going to cut this short because there's things you got to do, and you got to get on a meeting. I know that for sure. But with this pandemic, and I don't got, and people are always asking me, and all those negative voices out there saying the words you're saying, you're already emotionally broke. And I understand that you're probably emotionally broke. And if you are, just get emotional help. Because we're not asking for your emotional money. We're asking for you to be mentally healthy so you can build a mentally healthy community so you can help the next. Because if you're mentally, emotionally broke, your $5 is not going to help us anyway. Because it's only going to come with negativity. And we don't need that.
Right.
So that's all I got to say.
People ask me all the time, Dr. Dyer, Gerald, well, you always happy, man. Why are you always so happy? Why you... Every morning, 90% of mornings, I'm up, I get a workout in, I spend at least 15 minutes in meditation and solitude, gathering my own thoughts, looking into my own person. Where are you, Gerald? How are you feeling today? Right? And I do this every day. I have a book. I call it my daily goal book. I write in this book every day. In the last 10 years, I've completed about 15 of these books where I write. So I can go back and tell you what I was thinking and what was going on in 2012. Right?
Right.
So I do these things, and I've learned to do these things over time because, where I come from, I told you in a previous episode that by the time I was 18, I had known, at least 15 boys that were murdered. So, it's traumatic. And as I start thinking about that as an adult, I was like, all right, Gerald, man, you didn't just make it through this, right? You didn't, there were things that you did. And in order for you to not internalize this stuff, and as you watch things happen in your own community and within your family, you still have to be a whole person.
Yes.
So you have to go out and do some additional things to be a whole person. And I think, like you're a mental health professional and you encounter this every day, but people don't actually take the time to look within themselves, sit in solitude, and just take a deep breath and unload.
Yeah.
Unload some of this stuff. But again, Dr. Dyer, I appreciate being on your show. If you want to support Mission Fulfilled 2030, you can go to missionfulfilled2030.org. There's a donation button. We take all types of $5. You want to donate $1, just donate or support. We're actually updating our site right now. It's awesome because we're getting a lot of people who want to volunteer. So we're updating our volunteer page so people can volunteer time and just share our content. Like we put out a lot of content. we're going to be featuring in the new year. We got a bunch of new programs starting where I have black men teaching black boys. It's amazing. Black men, listen to the sound of this.
Yeah.
Black men
teaching black boys.
Black boys technology.
It's a unicorn. It's a unicorn.
That's dope. And we rolling out a bunch of programs. So if you got a son, you got a cousin, you got a nephew between the ages of K through 12, like go to Mission Fulfilled, sign up for our email list so you can get find out when the next courses are launching. MissionFulfilled2030.org. I'll throw it back to you, Dr. Dyer, with that. And again, it's a pleasure being on your show. Happy Veterans Day to all our servicemen and women.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to Bridges Live. We're talking with Gerald Moore Sr., and we're talking about Mission Fulfilled 2030. We will have him back on to keep on the updates, because this is not an ending conversation. This is a continuous conversation, and we hope you all join in the fight for us to be a civil humanity about educating ourselves and being prosperous all around. So thank you so much. Everyone have a blessed evening. Happy Veterans Day. God bless, Gerald. Is not feeling well. She is under the weather, but I also we like to keep consistency with this, so don't worries. She is with us in spirit. She's I believe in texting all day about what she's going through and how she's feeling, and it's very important. So I also want you to know, you remember this is a call-in show, so you can give me a call here, 1-888-240-8466. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to figure out where did I put that phone in case someone calls in. So you can always call in to share your story at 1-888-240-8466. So voices to be heard is important to us, right? Because as the many things that are happening with the pandemic and all the stuff that happens before and after, and we know that the holiday season is an uprise with a lot of abuse, because Thanksgiving's coming up and people can't spend time with their families, so people are drinking more, people are doing a lot more things, and we have to understand that we have options, and a lot of times we don't see our options when we feel like we are stuck in a bind. So voices to be heard. We decided to do this so we can talk about the abuse that people are having in their lives. And I see Mr. Kevin McNeil is coming on with me now, and we did a show with him about the 12 Project, and I was just so excited about what he was doing down in Atlanta that I had him come on with Voices to be Heard. So welcome, Kevin. Welcome to Voices to be Heard.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's a blessing. Tamara Randolph, my co-host for Voices to be Heard, she's under the weather. Nothing like COVID related or anything like that, but she's just not feeling well. So I said, she said she's going to give everyone their love and all that stuff. So that's a plus. So we know that hold on. I got like this double thing going. So we have a lot of love out there.
Okay.
So with Voices to be Heard, as I talked to you before, it's like this gets a chance for people to call in, talk about some of the things they have been going through, maybe give some solutions to some opportunities to talk. Because as you know, Kevin, if people haven't seen the last show with you, give us a little bit of background on you about how you have been dealing with people in abuse situations as the many facets you've dealt with them in, as a police officer, as a minister, preaching in the pulpit, and then starting your 12 Project. You know, okay, so talk about that real quick.
Yeah. I think one of the things I just released a new thing I did. I did a video called Trauma Kings and teaching men how to be rulers over their trauma and emotions rather than letting that trauma and emotions rule over them. Not only this is not just for men, but the women who love them. A lot of times as men, we're missing intimacy, and one of the things that I discovered, being an abuse victim myself, is that I suffered in my decision making, in my relationships with myself, with others, and it caused me to make improper decisions or not good decisions that led me to not be successful, but to survive. And surviving and living are not the same. And so that led me to really, I saw so much in the world, police officer. I saw so much pain, and I was locking people up, but it really wasn't the solution to the problem I was seeing. So I decided to stop policing and get on the other end. I think we're in a time right now where people are beginning to wake up and become more conscious. They understand that it requires work, to heal, and not just a desire to. So yeah, I started the 12 Project to make sure that people were understanding that they can get educated about their brains, their minds, and their environments, and the people they surround themselves with in their past, and how they can look back and confront those things in their past and learn from their past, and not try to ignore it, but learn some of the things. And then we can go back and teach our young people the same thing that we've learned, so they don't repeat the same mistakes.
When we talk about voices to be heard, it seems like it's so simple for people to just speak out about the things that happen to them. And I know when I was 9, and again, we talked about this before on the show we did with you, is just that I know I didn't speak about the abuse that happened to me, and I was young at age at 9, and the sexual abuse that I had. So it seems that do you think this format is helping somewhat what people are hearing, or do you think this is just like throwing, salt into the water and hopefully it turns into salt water? I mean, what do you think about this? Because I'm always concerned about that.
Yeah, I think it's revolutionary. For one, you got 2 African American men on here talking about abuse and being abused and being victims, whereas in the African American community, that is unheard of. Most men try to warrior up and try to become macho and deny their past. And there's a reason there's more men in prison than, particularly African American men in prison than they are in colleges. There's a reason that African American men suffer from more heart failure, cardiovascular disease, and all kind of other unhealthy diseases. It's because we hold our pain in. And your pain and your emotions are so connected to your bodies. Mm-hmm. I think the show that you're doing now and us having these conversations is now beginning to educate men on the fact that your vulnerability is your strength. Yes. Because they're saying 2 brothers converse about it. We're talking about it openly. We're talking about it on a public platform. We're not behind closed doors. We're not watching football and pretending it doesn't exist. We're using our platforms, using our voices to talk about some things that have hurt us. And yet people can see that we haven't become weak. We're actually stronger in what we're doing. Right. Our beliefs and our ability to be successful and enjoy life, man. I saw one of your posts where you were in the woods talking, man. That just spoke to me. Like, you out in nature and you just out with you're experiencing God in a way that until you heal, you can't appreciate that. And so it was small things like that, seeing you in that space, that ministered to me. And the words you were speaking were just, that was just, icing on the cake. But just to see an African American male willing to expose himself and become vulnerable to the elements and what God has given him to enjoy, without them needing money, without them needing attention, without them needing titles, you're just able to enjoy life. That speaks volumes.
Thank you so much. One of the things I when I was healing, it's like an addiction. I don't know if I'm completely healed of PTSD from any trauma I have, but I am healing. It is a process of a journey that I am constantly working on every breath I take. And I don't want to get into the police song, every breath you take, but the thing is, that's funny is, but every breath you do take, that's a choice for you. And that is the decision you're making to work that process. And that process is important.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you bring that into reality, because a lot of times we don't realize, talking about your pain creates a rhythm in the earth, right? You're creating a energy force that kind of summons all the angelic forces and those forces in the world that are meant to help you process your healing. They are attracted to you as a result of that. By not speaking to it, you kind of repel those forces that God meant for you to have, your angels, away. And so I love what that you said about, being able to healing, ing. You should never add ed to heal, because you'll always be ing, healing, because once you get to that spot where you think you're already healed, you stop being intentional about your own healing. And so that's why I get in trouble a lot of times when I tell churches, don't tell people, one time can heal them. Sure, God, the Creator, can do that. But that's not the preferable way to do it, because it's a walk in a relationship. You heal through relationships. You can't heal in isolation. And that's what we don't understand as men, that we think we're in a relationship, but we're in partnerships, and there's a difference. Partnership is transactional, which means if you do, I do, right? Relationships are not transactional. They just, I'm here for you, and you're there for me. So I think this show and this platform and us talking about it is drawing energy all over the world. And I think one of the things that I have to be mindful of, at least, is to not to look at the progress.
Yes, but the process.
A lot of times people are slow to come to this way.
Mm-hmm.
They so used to being in the matrix that when you give them an out, that you heard the allegory of the cave, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like, they've been in the dark so long, the light blinds them, and so Jesus even said it. He said people have become so used to the darkness that they don't want to come into the light. So I think it's a process, and for brothers like yourself and myself and other people who do the work, is to stay encouraged, because I can tell you, it's discouraging when you release stuff that can help people and they don't really gravitate to it.
And one of the things I was actually talking with somebody today about, why is it difficult for people to accept what they don't recognize in themselves? And I like to ask myself these questions and write them down, because I don't want to always just to say, well, if you are not accepting this, then you're not ready for it. I don't believe in that all the time, and I'll tell you why. Because a lot of the times people don't know if they're ready. And how would they ever know they're ready until you put your hand on them and say, hey, I'm here to listen to you. And that's why we did this Voices to Be Heard. We're here to listen to you, not judge you, not give you therapy, not do none of that, because those things will take place once you open your mouth and speak.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love what the therapist Greenspan said. She said when listening is not available, the healing process is aborted. Like, healing happens because you listen. And you read the Bible and these things. And I tell people, understanding this enriches your study and your reading. Because when you hear Jesus listening to people, what it is that you want me to do for you? What is it that ails you? He listens to the problem rather than before he even gives, assistance to the people. And so that's where the healing comes from, being listened to. And I think that's our most powerful asset. Because we're listening spirits. If you don't believe you're listening spirits, try to go and sit and don't hear your own self-talk, your thoughts. The problem is we ignore them. And because we're not listening, we continue to move through life. And that's why, the ability to hear. Because once you block out your own pain, you make yourself deaf to other people's pain.
Right.
And so it's a great tool. And I tell people that's one of the greatest assets you can have. And listening is not the absence of sound, it's the inability to hear sound. There's no such thing as silence. The silence is the inability to hear sound, not the absence of sound.
One of my, with my kids, and most people know this, I have 7 daughters and 2 sons, and in all many aspects of my children, I actually am very involved in everything I do when it comes to these shows, because I take it personally, because it is happening to me personally, and I like to share personally what I am doing, what we are doing, what you can do, the struggles of it. So one of my daughters said to me, she called me, is the blessing. She says, Dad, I'm spiraling. And I said, that's okay. She goes, and she started crying, and we're on FaceTime. She says, I'm spiraling out of control, and I just don't know what to do. And I said, you know what you just did? You did the best thing you could do. You called. Yeah. You called. Yeah. We were just there to listen, and then we got to laughing about other things. And then I said, let me ask you something, honey. have you thought about what you could do for you when you recognize that you're spiraling? She goes, I never recognize when I'm spiraling down. I just know when I'm there. And I said, that's so beautiful. Right. I said, that's so beautiful. She goes, huh? I said, do you know how amazing it is for you to recognize when you're in a slump where you're like, I think I'm stuck.
Yeah, and that's amazing that she can recognize that, can feel it, and not only feel it, but reach out to another spirit that can say, you know what, I want to express who I am because I know someone who's willing to listen and be there with me and be present during my ability to express this thing that I'm going through. And I don't have to worry about judgment. I don't have to worry about, them trying to tell me how I should feel. They're just listening to my feelings. And that creates a connection. I always tell people, stop complaining. Instead of being complaining, become curious. Curiosity will create a connection. And only through that connection can you communicate. And so I tell people, like your daughter said, she was curious. Like, wow, I'm catching this. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why meditation is so powerful, because for once you slow down enough and you're listening. Like, who's doing the talking and who's doing the listening, right? That becomes the real struggle. Like, okay, I hear things, but who's this talking and who is this listening? So it becomes very powerful.
Let me give people an idea. When Kevin is talking about meditation, when we talk about meditation, when you read about meditation, when you hear about meditation, and blah blah blah, people are questioning, what does meditation mean? Now, meditation can mean many things. That is true. But let me put it to you this one thing. It is not the absence of thinking about anything. It's slowing down so you can see the one thing. And the one thing after the other. It's like taking tickets coming through the gate. If you're at the ticket booth coming in for a sporting event, you want one ticket at a time. One ticket at a time. Yes, there's a whole lot of people coming in through the gate, and those are your thoughts. But as you take the ticket, you have to look at it. And as you look at it, that's meditation. Just look at each thought as a ticket. Not that you're ignoring, but once you give it light, and light comes from your eyes. When you recognize within yourself that I see something, it shines bright. And that in those edges of darkness, they fall away. Yes, you still have to do the work, but that's meditation.
Yeah, I love that analogy, the tickets, because you got some ticket scabbers out there who try to get in for free. Some of those stones, man, you got to reject and say, hey, we're not going to play. That's not this type of game. You can't get in here. This is for serious and growth. So, it's amazing. And I think, and I was having this conversation earlier with a friend of mine, is that we've become so busy, on this wheel trying to survive, we don't slow down. Like what we're doing now, being able to listen to people have a conversation and sit still enough to take it in, right? To really be able to turn the TV off, to turn off social media. And let's talk about some each other rather than being distracted all the time, because that's what and you don't have it. That's why you're tired all the time. I tell people, I got a friend, he always tired, but he always finds himself. It's like, that's why you're tired. You're never spending time with who you are.
Right.
You're letting people from every angle pull from you, and nobody's pouring into you. So this is one of these things why I think in this new decade, starting in 2021,
right,
I think they can share something, because a lot of times I know it's happened with me. I hear wisdom as I'm talking. It's like, wow, I would have never thought that until I had a listener to hear what I had to say. And now I said something that I had to listen to, even though I was communicating it to another person.
Kevin, right? How do you think, I want to speak, because we're two men on this show right now, and I want to let people know you can give us a call. Even if you hear this show and leave a message, I will get back to you. The number is 1-888-240-8466. 1-888-240-8466. This is something that we developed to put on the show so people can call in, leave a message, and you don't have to leave your name. It can be anonymous. It's just not. This is just for you to be heard. That's why it's called Voices to Be Heard. So the question I have for you, Kevin, is this: as a young black boy, and I'm saying with the ages of under 30 to like 15, going through a circumstance, what are the words? I have a hard time coming up with words to say that you don't belong in that situation that you think you're in. I don't know how to reach them. I mean, if I see it, it's different. But I'm talking about the boy that's locked in this, that's thinking, I don't know how to get out of this.
Yeah.
I really want to talk to them somehow, and I don't. Yeah.
That's one of those things where helplessness robs us of seeing different opportunities that are out there. Sometimes we see ourselves as being helpless, like there are no alternatives. And so what happens in that state is we start looking around closest to us, and we start reaching back for what somebody told us and what we're familiar with. And if you got bad influences around you, they don't know what to do. And so oftentimes when that happens, when you find yourself in a space, you said, man, you know what, I don't know what to do. Sometimes you have to get out of your familiar environments and say, you know what, I don't know what to do. I need to force myself to go to a place. It can be a book, it can be a show like this, to listen to something that I'm not normally accustomed to, pushing myself and forcing myself to think outside of my situation. Because what happens is when we get in a situation, we just think about the situation, and we get so entrenched in that situation that we're so worried about getting out of the situation. It can be a show like this, to listen to something that I'm not normally so a lot of times to pushing behind ourselves in is actually an opportunity to pull us out of what we have normally been out. And I use that analogy of storms.
Yes.
People don't like storms, but when storms come, they show up weaknesses. They show where the weak spots are, right? When you have difficulties in your life, it shows you where you were not prepared, or where you were not on that road to preparation. And so it forces you to look at spaces in your life. For me, for instance, when I went bankrupt, I got mad, my car got repossessed, and I was thinking, man, as a man, this is bad. No woman is going to want to date me, broke as I am, can't take them out to dinner. But that was just the problem. I was so focused on making other people happy and trying to make other people see me in a certain way that I was using all my resources and energy trying to impress people without trying to be the man that I needed to be. So
now that's important. That's important. So that little piece right there, Kevin, I tell you, what is this false fallacy of the man you're supposed to be? It is this misnomer that has been perpetuated throughout all of time that says you're not the man you're supposed to be. It's like when you're on this other side of the fence, it sounds so crazy to think that those are words that people say. And yet, we know there's people listening to those words. You're not the man you're supposed to be. What man is that?
Yeah, and we've been enculturated and socialized to believe that a man is this Superman. I just did a video called "I'm Not Superman," right? Because I wanted those the figures that we're given. Until you Superman, until you Batman, until you this person. And even I tell my sisters sometimes they advocate for that. Right? If a man shows any vulnerability, he's
weak
as someone who's weak, but really that's a man who's really strong, because that's a man who can really love, because now he doesn't have walls and to shield off any pain. Therefore, he can let love in. So that's where our women today, and I know women get mad at me when I say that they're starving for intimacy, because men don't know how to give it, because we've been closed off by this ideal of what a man should be and how a man should feel and what a man should look like, right? And so we bought into this patriarchal type of ideal that we haven't allowed our boys to really connect with their inner selves, their youthful selves, their curious selves, their abilities to have male companionship, right?
And embrace it, and embrace that companionship. Yeah.
So in the business of getting a drink, I can call a brother and say, hey man, today is not a day for me, man. I just need somebody to talk to. I don't need advice. I just need somebody to tell how I feel, right? And so, that's the type of thing that I think we need to get back from what we've been robbed from. And it started way back. We can blame slavery.
It does.
De-emasculate the man, and so we decided to keep from getting hurt. We are detached, and so that's what men do. We detach because that's our way of saying you're not going to hurt me or make me weak.
But do you think? Now, I had thought this, and I've been writing this on what you call this an emotional science paper. I think that certain, I'm thinking like hip hop and sports and all these things, they are hurting our abused children into slave disorder because they're trying to get to something that they are not emotionally, mentally, spiritually ready for. And that's why we have so many broken athletes, all of them, a lot of them, they're very broke after, how can this how can this athlete be broke after 5 years after leaving the XY sport? Well, because he was broken, he was mentally, emotionally, spiritually broken before.
Yeah, and that's the saddest place to be. I always use the analogy, it's very heartbreaking to spend all your energy climbing a mountain and realize you climbed the wrong one. And that is similar to getting all the fame, getting all the money that you have and could have, all the people around you, just to realize you're still not happy. Happiness is not what you should be searching for. It should be fulfillment. And that's what we're selling. If you watch commercials on TV, that's all they're selling is happiness. They're selling a false sense of happiness to get you to buy a product, to get you to look a certain way, to get you to feel a certain way. But the reality is, and you said it, you can get all those things and still be suicidal. You can get all those things and still be an addict. Why? Because the spirit is what dictates the quality of life, not possessions. Right? So we've taught men to go out and conquer, but we haven't taught them how to really become and how to really sit and be present, and be present around them. Doctor, is that when you're present, you draw people to you, and they won't even know why they're drawn to you. But they'll feel a sense of energy that comes from you, that emanates from you. That's what Jesus had,
Right.
We talk about all this healing power, but he had presence, right? When he's walking and this woman touches him, somebody touched me. I felt a presence.
I felt the presence.
And so I think that's what we need to teach men. A lot of our men are absent.
Well, they're absent from themselves.
Yeah. They're absent. And the women are feeling it. A woman that they're starving for the intimacy that they think they can have the man, because the muscles don't bring the intimacy.
No.
The Bugatti don't bring the intimacy. When you get a brother who's present, you'll know it. Because he don't need to ask you questions. He can sense your energy. And he won't try to fix you. He'll allow you to be you.
So, we have these medications that are coming out that we're pumping in front of these kids. And I know there's a lack of nutrition. I know there's all these other sciences behind it that I disagree with. And I know that a lot of young boys, young women don't see themselves as anything. And that's also a hurtful sickness. And once you don't see yourself as anything, then you already start out as worthless, which allows the abuser to attach to you, because it doesn't matter what the abuser looks like or is, but it allows the abuser to attach to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sickness is a business to keep you sick.
Yeah,
right. And then I can market to your sickness, because I can say, I'm gonna build a liquor store in your community, because when you get depressed, you can just go right down the street and get your bottle of liquor. Right? I'm gonna make it easy and accessible to you to be numb, but I'm gonna make it hard for you to be healed. And so I get in trouble because I said Jesus was murdered because he was healing people, because healing people affects the economy, because those in power want to keep you sick. So then they can prescribe to you what they say will help you. And so you go and buy what they're prescribing, and it's not to get you well, it's to get rid of the symptoms of your sickness, but not to heal the sickness. It's to keep you coming back for more medicine. And so therefore, the owner of Pfizer, right? He just came out with this. They came out with
Yeah.
this cure for this COVID, but they found out today that he sold some of his other stock, $5.6 million in other stock, so he can buy some more of his own stock because he knows that people are going to need this vaccine, and his stock's going to skyrocket, and so he's going to get rich, you know. So, and that's why they wanted this whole herd mentality. Let's not fix COVID. Let people get it.
Yeah,
so
let people get it.
Medicine. Yeah, and you know, that's an old Roman trick. Rome used to do that. And
I told people, brother, I was telling people, I said, Rome did the same thing.
Yeah.
to Germany.
They would send insurrectionists into a city to cause trouble.
Yes.
And then they would call on the Romans to come help them get rid of the insurrectionists, not knowing that Rome was the one who sent them. So then Rome comes in, all hell Caesar, right? Caesar's the savior of the people.
Yep,
right?
yep.
So he came in and saved us. No, Caesar was the one who sent the problem to you. And so that's why when Jesus comes and says, I'm the savior of the world, I'm the king of the Jews, he creates this whole political landscape where now Caesar is under question. And so that's the whole struggle we people miss when they study in this story about Jesus.
You know, and again, it goes back to that self-connection. You missed the part of Jesus because you keep looking out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's where you get missed. So now, once you look out, you start to subjugate yourself to analysis. Like, well, what if? And how come? And what about, well, if you were looking in to find Jesus, those questions will already be answered.
Already answered. Like, why is this carpenter, right, going around healing people? And why is there such a problem with the healing? So that's what, just like with the prodigal son, people always look at the prodigal son story of him going away. But what I look at the prodigal son is what do you do when you give a man resources before he's ready, right? So watch the downfall. That you give somebody something that they're not ready for. That's what happened to a lot of our men and our people in society. They want things they're not ready for spiritually. When you're spiritually ready, and if you notice, God always prepares you spiritually, right? This whole idea of being a shepherd to sheep, you know, you have to become spiritual, being in the desert, in the wilderness. And so that's the healing process. Like, I want you to confront those things, right? Esau, Jacob, you got to go back and face Esau. Like Moses, you got to go back and face Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
David, you got to go face the Goliath.
Because you got to face it. You have to face it.
Yeah. Because I got to make you face what you're running from. Right? Because if I don't make you face what you're running from, you'll never be ready to possess what I want you to have. That's why they couldn't go to the promised land. A lot of our brothers can't go to the promised land because they're too afraid of feeling the pain that's associated with the healing process.
And it is, and let's get this straight. It is very painful. This is not a secret. This is not something you can just walk through and be cleansed. The process of healing is it is a painful process. And the reason why it's painful is because it's been embedded inside of you for such a long time, and everything on top of it has to be broken up, stripped away. And it doesn't just go away. You have to still comb through it.
Yeah.
And understand the reason, not the why, the reason.
Yeah. Because you got to look back at some of those decisions that brought you here. And without blaming, I think one of the problems I had is I was blaming. I was pointing out and saying them, they. And I wasn't looking at the power I had to shift my decision making, my consciousness around what I was doing and what I was in. Right? And so it was like, okay, and here's the thing I tell people even in the beginning of the story about the two trees. I'm not gonna get into that. That's the whole but when man started looking for measurement, he lost his ability to find meaning. And anytime you find measurement, you'll never beat enough. That's why man and woman saw themselves as inadequate and naked, even in the presence of God. We've lost our ability to seek meaning because we're so busy seeking measurement. The world and those in power, they benefit from you seeking measurement because they're going to tell you what you should look like. They're going to tell you what you should drive, what your house should look like, how many streams of income you should have. But if you lose your meaning, I think Jesus says something like this: what would it profit a person to gain the whole world but lose the meaning for their existence?
So isn't that the thing that how we get to our people who are in abuse relationships or is being abused or have been abused is they ask that question, what is my meaning?
That's what's keeping them there.
Right.
Because they think their life means nothing and they have nothing to provide in a relationship that they find themselves in, and they're somewhat drawn to the belief system that I can never leave or never be worthy of anything because I don't measure up to anything. So in a way, I deserve the punishment even though I don't like the punishment.
Right.
Right.
Until
you change the beliefs, you can't change the situation.
I just want everybody to think, you listen to Kevin McNeil and then Dr. Paul, and Tamara Randolph is out. She's not feeling well. She does send her love and her blessings. We do have this every other Wednesday. So not this Wednesday, next Wednesday coming up, every other Wednesday. So it's two Wednesdays a month. We do Voices to be Heard. You can call the number 1-888-240-8466 if you have any questions. I do get the message. It does come through on a line that I do check. So if you have anything, if you want to speak about anything, if you want to have it talk about us, and you just want to hash it out, but we're here to hear the voices, and that's why we're talking. And Kevin and I, we're talking about the things that we are missing, and I hope it's not putting you in a defensive measure, like, oh, I don't do that, and I feel sometimes when we've been in those rooms, Kevin, when we're talking like this, and I could just see some of the people I've had group sessions with, they're like, no, you know, and they're doing all these. Because they're griping with understanding. And you don't have to understand. You just have to release.
That's it. And become curious. You know, curiosity, I'm always curious. That's what makes me a reader. When I listen to somebody, instead of letting my emotions and my beliefs take over, here's what I tell people. Everybody just have a problem with it. I said, when you believe nothing, you can do everything. And then some people say, well, Jesus says he who believes, all things are possible for him who believes. Yes, he said all things, but he didn't say everything, right? So what you believe becomes what you're able to do. But if you believe nothing, anything is possible, right? Because your beliefs are constrictions,
yes,
right? If I believe I'm good, then it's limited to my definition of good. Can I be better?
Yeah.
I'd be great, right? So I try to get rid of all belief, suspend all belief, so that I can hear and become a good listener. And because when you're able to listen, you're able to hear yourself say things about yourself that you would never say to somebody else. Right? You know, when you think, oh man, that was stupid. You don't realize your spirit recognizes your voice more than any other voice, including God. So if you say you're stupid, your spirit picks that up and believes it.
I did on Mondays, I do Mental Health Mondays, and I talked about mirror cells. And the mirror cells has everything to do with first your process of thought, and everything you say, your body reacts chemically to you. So if you don't speak through compassion and love, we're not talking about disagreements. You can have a disagreement and still have compassion and love. But when you speak negatively, if you think negatively, those cells are reacting to that chemical change in your body, and your body will store that sickness. And so those mirror cells will do that. And so most people say, well, it's not what I said. It's not what I was thinking. It's what I said. No, it's what you're thinking.
Yeah, because thinking all words, you just haven't spoken them yet.
Right.
Your thoughts are more powerful than your words because your thoughts wire your brain, and your brain speaks what you're thinking. So everything you speak is a reaction to what you thought. So a thought, because we don't pay attention to them, we think that we're doing something for the first time when you already created it in your head. That's what makes visualization so powerful.
Yes.
You know, because Jesus, I think it was God who told Abraham. He says, look up to the sky, right? He said, if you can count the stars, so should it be your descendants. But he only told Abraham that after Lot left. Right. Because people didn't understand Lot means blindness or covering.
That's the original Hebrew text, and that's why. Oh, Kevin, man, most people thought Lot was a thing. No, Lot is a. See, that's where the Hebrew text comes in, right? Yeah. When you read the original, it means blindness, right? Yeah. Lot left means the blindness left.
Yeah. So he was able to see. That's why God tells them, now look.
Right.
Because the people you had yourself around you, you were blinded by loyalty to someone.
Yes.
That couldn't get you to the places where you needed to be because your vision was obscured we start talking about this maleness issue, we've been blinded at our power because we've been given a definition that we've held on to, and we regurgitated it to our kids and our sons and to our women. And so we're missing the essence of being because we have added this limitation on our essence. And so we are buying into these definitions that were given to us, and we're not questioning it. Like, what is this, right? And so to hear two African American men come on and talk about abuse and be open about it, it messes up the paradigm, and it messes up the whole structure, the status quo of this is not manlike, right?
Right.
We're not talking football. We're not talking, cigars. We're not talking sports. We talk about essence and being and feelings, and right. It's like, what is this? What is I'm listening to? So I think we have to get back to that, and I think we're getting to that space and place. I think the consciousness of people will awaken to that. I just hope it happens in our time.
I really believe, and it's not because I have a belief. We keep working, right? We keep moving, and in this time frame, and being a science guy, time is what is time, and so let us keep doing this. Yeah. Let us keep changing that vibration. Let us keep changing the circulation of that false narrative of those constructs, because those constructs are your conflicts, and those conflicts are confusing to you, and that is where your consciousness is. So for you to be
I like that.
I
like that.
Thank you.
I love that. Yeah, because you just gave me a whole new definition of conflict, right? Like the encounter, right? Like, this is something to pay attention to. I always tell people, God interrupts you to get your attention, right? And you go in the back, you see these patterns of interruptions. He interrupts David, right? He interrupts Saul. He interrupts, all these prophets. And when God life interruptions to get your attention to listen. Moses sees the burning bush. He's interrupted from his status quo, his normality, his formality, so this, I think, like you said, this conflict, because now interruption conflicts what you thought you knew, right? It conflicts with who you thought you were. And so now either you struggle with the conflict or you go back into what you're used to.
Right.
And most people do to go back to what they used to. It's the difference between the narrow and the wide roads, paths that you just spoke of.
And once you go backwards, you go into your lower level of animal self. You never get to your higher self. Once you go backwards, you stay stuck in lower level field.
Yeah, and you not only go back, you become even more stuck because you've over some of your power to go back. It takes twice an hour to go back. It just seems easier than it does to go forward, and that's the lie. Most people think it takes more effort and energy to go forward. It may appear that way in the beginning, but the real effort and energy is really pulling yourself back, because it's naturally, that's why your eyes is in the front of your head. That's why your prefrontal cortex, the planning part of your brain, is in the front of your head, because you're meant to go forward and not to go back.
One of the simplest things I used to do in the martial science when people come to me and study the art and stuff, I said that to them, it's easy for you to go forward and backwards. They'd say, what do you mean? I said, okay, so walk backwards.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's not, it is a concentrated effort for you to walk, because you're not used to walking backwards. Now, walk forwards. There it is. That allows you, that tells you right there, it's easy to go forward than backwards.
It is. Yeah. So, you're trying to go backwards, you looking over yourself, you cautious.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out where you're going before you get there. You're premeditated, you're always cautious, and you can't live that way. But that's how most of us live.
Yes, backwards.
We live backing up. Yeah, we live backing up. And we're not meant to live back. We're meant to move forward.
Thank you, Kevin. We keep this short and sweet. Voices to be heard every other Wednesday. You can always give us a call here at 1-888-240-8466. Thank you, Kevin. You're welcome to come on anytime. I'll let you know when we come on. to join us, because talking about abuse, talking about the substance abuse, talking about healing through abuse, talking about just giving the voice to abuse so it kills that darkness. Because with these holidays and people drinking more and the drugs and stuff, people are being more abused. It's on the rise. We know it. We know it from the teachers. We know that the kids are getting more abused. It's sickening and sad, but it is true.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, as always.
Thank you so much, and God bless. So you want to pray us out, Mr. Kevin, please?
Yes, I can. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time. We thank you for your spirit, oh God. You said with 2 or 3 are gathered in your midst, there you are in the midst, causing change, causing transformation, and causing resurrection. God, we thank you that you have resurrected us to be a new being, even in this space and place, in this small time that we've gathered and spoke. God, you have changed us for the better. And we ask and pray, oh God, that you allow us to use this change to bring change into the world. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.